Hello beautiful soul, this is Elena the Greek and today's video is connected to spiritual awakenings. It's not gonna be a transmission, although my guides will be coming in and adding on the things I have to share with you. I needed to add this video on the list about spiritual awakenings, and please make sure you check out that list because there might be things you need to be learning from that perspective of deciphering the different stages and phases of spiritual awakenings. But today's video is more general of why do we have to go through all these spiritual awakenings and what is the point? Can't we awaken at once and move on with our lives of co-creating with the cosmos, with each other, with the earth, and be done with all of these situationships lately of what has been going on? And the point with each and every spiritual awakening is very different. Now, we had in our thoughts, in our minds, some years ago, and I was watching these people myself, saying that my spiritual awakening was happening. It wasn't happening. It happened once and that was it. My connection with spirit opened up, my gifts opened up, and that is it. I started creating my life from there in a different way. I saw different things. Or the people that had near-death experiences where they came back, awakened, changed in many ways, and they start living a different life. And the third option that is also very common is for those that are going through awakening processes, through phases over the years, in a way that feels exhausting, tiring, and when is this going to be over? This is the overall question that comes, like, come on now, when are we going to be over with this? And what else is there? In that last question, to my understanding, let me start from that first. To my understanding, there's no one time off and one size fits all and one awakening and we are done and over and this is it. And we learned everything we needed to learn and now we are creating, because there's no such thing for me. Even the people that believe that it was one time off thingy that they had to awaken and they awakened and they started creating from there, that is not real for me. And even through my guides, through exploring energy, through exploring different things, it's good to believe in these kind of things, but they're not kind of real. And even, let's entertain that, because that's what I'm doing. Let's entertain the thought that yes, it was one awakening that was needed. These souls are very, very, very rare on this planet because they have extremely few lives, if none at all as well. On this planet, again, I'm saying, not in overall, but they came here with a specific purpose, with a specific package of knowledge to share with others, to teach us, to copy from them the frequency, and that is it. So they didn't have a lot of layers to set off. They didn't have a lot of things to change. Even through their Akashic records, you will find one or two lives here on Earth or none at all, and this is why breaking through the veil of remembrance was a one-time thingy that happened, and this is it. Okay, we awakened to the wisdom and the knowledge the soul already possesses from any kind of life form. Now, for the most part of it, most of us, even as starseeds, even as very old souls on this planet again, because generally we are all old souls, there's no discernment in that. The source is one, we were all created at once. Now, how that started to evolve for each one of us is a different story, because it evolves soul and spirit evolution knowledge behind that. So going back to being old souls on this planet. Of course, we went through the veil of remembrance, meaning we had forgotten too many times of who we are, and most of the times we had to remember that, to remember actually who we have been and why we are here now. And we went through that process of amnesia so many times that of course it is more challenging to wake up, to awaken to this kind of knowledge we carry as souls from an incarnation to an incarnation. And don't forget that everything flows, that every time someone incarnates on this planet, every other life that they have on other points of time, which means past lives, future lives, parallel lifetimes, everything is changing and is being altered, because this is how things work. Everything flows, nothing is set on stone, literally. Now, why we came back again, that's another story for another time. So when we have to go through all the spiritual awakenings over and over again, from an incarnation to an incarnation, you would think that we would know how the drill goes. No, we don't remember even that. So we have a way of communicating with our future self, with our past self in this specific lifetime. I'm not talking about other lifetimes. In this specific lifetime, we have allowed our future selves and current self and past self to get notified with specific signs, to get that feeling of awakening and that push on the back, hey, you have to move on, and this is not exactly what is real or how this planet works. So wake up, and I left you some signs so you can catch up with the scenario and move on to the next scene. And having that in our minds, we have to understand that spiritual awakenings have nothing to do with, hey, you missed that, so you have to go back and redo it. It doesn't have to do with that. It doesn't have to do even with the thought that goes through spiritual communities that we don't get it the first time, so we have to get it the next time. I didn't awaken to the first wave of awakening, I will have to awaken on the next one. That is completely a fear-based belief, self-torturing in many ways, and it is a limiting conditioning that goes on and on in spiritual communities, that you have to feel dumb that you didn't awaken earlier or that you didn't awaken enough, and that's not it. That's not how spiritual awakenings work, and that's not it. Okay, so what is truly going on? We are awakening, each one of us, to the truth we are ready to embrace. The truth has many layers, has many levels. It is one universal truth, but for each one of us it works a bit differently. I can awaken up to a level until now, and the process within these awakenings is again the processing the wisdom and the knowledge, processing the understanding, processing yourself. And it's not about shadows, just about me and my shadows, or the aspects of myself I have to integrate, or the things that create fear in me, or the inner judge that creates a lot of self-doubt and I don't have confidence and blah blah blah. Yes, we are gonna be doing this work a lot, and we will always be doing that kind of work, but that's not why spiritual awakenings are happening. Spiritual awakenings are your compass to figure out what is real for you in this lifetime, on this planet, with the system you were born at, which means your family system, your society system, relatives and friends system, work system. All of these systems are part of who you are and who you are not, who you have tolerated to be and who you want to be becoming from now on. So all of these things we have incarnated into have to do with a bigger understanding of what is truly going on out here and where we want to be. And of course, there's always the conflict of this is what I desire, or this is what I'm manifesting from my unconscious mind. And again, even that has to do with the unity and union within and the way we process things. If you sit two people down and let them discuss their inner process and the way of how they think about life, about energy, about people, about connections, about jobs, you will see that they are very, very different of how they process things, how they process emotions, how they process thoughts, literally anything. They will find common base, probably, in that space. They will find things to agree upon or to disagree, and both, actually, but that's not the point. We will always find common places to meet with each other. What I want you to be aware of is the different way of thinking for each and every person that exists out there. So this is the process. Exactly, this is the process of every spiritual awakening. The things I need to be learning to process about myself, emotions, thoughts, understanding, awareness, and this is how awareness is being expanded. And through that processing, the results I have, I won't even be stable or steady in these results. I will be in a space of allowing these results to be altered accordingly to my awareness that keeps changing because of my processing. And through that processing of data, if I can say that, data meaning the emotions, the thoughts, the situations, the connections, the soul connections, the karmic ones, the soul contracts and everything else, that processing that takes place of how I materialize in life, how I manifest in life, how I keep going with the flow of things, how I process the difficult moments, the challenging moments, the happy moments. All of these processes are coming to expand again my awareness to the next level until a lot of different layers are set off. And you'll tell me, then what? Okay, I've set all the layers off. What do I find? Nothingness. And yes, that is part of the process, the nothingness. And this is what many spiritual awakenings of mine have come to conclude to, that nothing really matters, everything is in vain. And from that space, I had to come back and find the joy of life when everything really doesn't matter at all. And yes, this is a part of life. Even with that, my perception was shifting, and every time I was getting into that space that nothing really matters, everything is in vain, everything has already been done, and there's nothing, literally the nothingness, the void, but not the void of the spiritual awakening phase, a different kind of void, where we connect actually with source. So I'm clarifying that void, that it is the connection with source where nothing exists and the source needs to experience itself through incarnation, and this is how we return back to the physical life, to the everyday life, thinking, okay, since nothing really matters, what's next? How do I move on from there? And yeah, in that space, you start finding the little small joys of life, the happiness of life. You find small things that will keep you activated in living and experience life, in not taking seriously everything that happens, in not making assumptions about everything. We go back to simplicity. Every after spiritual awakening, we go back to simplicity and how we can make our lives more simple, how we can feel more connected and interconnected without having to do something major in that space. And you see that nothing really matters, and you start applying that piece of wisdom in aspects of your life. You start detaching even more from things that keep happening and keep repeating, and you start closing cycles and you start opening up to new cycles. And then you go on and what the heck again? Why is this happening again? The thing though is that when you close a big chapter of your life that has come to an end and you got the full satisfaction that you could have gotten out of it, that means that you are opening up to experience something new, something different. And this is where everything matters, while at the same time nothing really matters. In that space you find that motivation to do something new, something different, so you can experience something new and something different. I know it may feel a bit complicated, and in reality, in actuality, it is very, very simple and yet very complicated at the same time. The paradoxical things of life, of energy, where you can find the duality, finding its balance in both aspects. It's not this or just that, it's both at the same time. So this is a new kind of perspective we can find ourselves into and be in that space of co-creating, detaching, relatively detaching from some complicated things from our lives in order to keep life as simple as possible, and creating from there with new goals and new priorities in a different way where everything matters, from the most unimportant thing of your day to the most important success that can find you or you can create through your day, and then through your weeks, through your months, through the years of life. And looking back, you will be able to reflect on things that you didn't think that they mattered before, but now they do matter. And there's a huge, profound key point in that. You can make things matter, you can make things not matter at all. It is up to you to create a new way of seeing, of viewing life, of what matters, to what extent and why. Every spiritual awakening has to do with that. And believe me, all the spiritual awakenings we are going through, each and every one, they may have common key phases or even common understandings that will make you feel that this is a cycle that keeps repeating, and it is true to some extent, but you have to step even more back to trust the process and get into a space of reflecting on the details of these different spiritual awakenings. Because one thing is very clear to my understanding, even the cycles that keep repeating themselves have something new to give us. And if you don't get into that cycle with that curiosity of, okay, this is being repeated, what's new though? What is the new thing that I can take away from this old cycle that keeps repeating, but what do I get out of it? When you get into that space of bringing your awareness to what is changed, what is different, and how I can truly get something out of it that truly matters to you, that truly gives you something back in return, instead of getting into the same cycle saying, oof, again the same thing, and why am I reliving this? And then you really get into the role of the student, And when you get into that role of being open to learn from that experience, you're shifting everything and it stops being a cycle that keeps repeating itself. And you do get the best out of it. And most of the times, getting the best out of it has to do with how we choose consciously to experience something that we generally believe that is unpleasant. So when you start living life and giving meaning to life and giving expansion to yourself through that meaning of life, you are receiving more of yourself in every way possible. And believe me, there will be stages where you will be, yeah, baby, I am awakened. Yeah, baby, I can use these tools and create life. And I have seen that these kind of people. For me, it was exactly the opposite. Okay, there's more. Okay, we have to keep going. There is more. And both situations are not okay because both make you feel like the first one, I have explored everything and opened up to everything until the next slap on the face. The second one is again, in a sense, of I have to say something. I have to be in a situation where I keep going and I keep going and I keep learning and not actually enjoying life because there's always something I have to get to as a destination. And guess what happens in both situations? In the first one, you think that you have reached the destination, so you are shutting yourself off from the possibility of having to explore the next destination, and it is a harsh awakening. In the second one, you put yourself on a space of constantly believing that you will never reach to that destination. And then you have to come to an understanding in both situations, regardless of which one resembles to what you are experiencing currently, that you have to embrace both sides. Yes, I'm always getting prepared or ready for the next destination, but I'm also enjoying where I am exactly now in the best way possible, which means that the minute you get a bit uncomfortable or you feel saturated, it is exactly the minute that you are getting prepared for the next chapter that has to start so you can reach the next destination and so on and so forth. And every spiritual awakening, no matter how well we expand, no matter how well we integrated the lessons and everything involved in that spiritual awakening, we are always in the space of expanding even more. We are always in the space of exploring ourselves and, most importantly, of experiencing ourselves. So the biggest question would be, how do I experience myself? What do I like? What don't I like? How would I like the next experience for me to be? Or even with this experience, what isn't enough? Or what would be enough? How would I prefer it? And usually we are being helped and supported by our emotions, yes, by our thoughts and what we say, ego mind, because ego is not just good or bad, it can be both, but it can also give you that motivation for something better. So that is the good aspect of ego, motivated to do more in life, to enjoy more in life, to create more in life. So use that and keep moving forward of shaping and creating your next experiences. Remember to decree things to your higher self when you feel the need. And believe me, most of all these stages are here to show us our own essence, which means that we have gifts and soul gifts, spiritual gifts, however you call them, that we are not even aware of, and we think there's something bad or wrong with us, and we keep exploring until something reaches our awareness and we are, oh, this was a gift, and to me it felt like it was something I had to clear, that something was off with my energies. That is also a very common example I keep encountering in variety of situations where people believe that there's something wrong with them, they are doing something wrong, or there is a negative energy blended with theirs and they have to clean it and nothing clears it out of their system. And it's usually a gift that they have to be aware of what they are actually doing and what they are actually experiencing. And sometimes, yes, these things are out of our control to change, to shut off, to alter them. But what we can do is stay open enough to explore how we can expand on this and how we can understand ourselves through these processes. Because we are in a space of constant spiritual awakenings, please be kind to yourself. Be caring and tender towards yourself. Be in a space of exploring things from a different perspective. If your thought process remains the same, it won't be helpful through the spiritual awakenings, because I keep talking about processing information and data. Yes, even that, the way we process keeps changing, and this is part of the spiritual awakening. What stays the same, if I can say that, is generally that we process. But the way we process is important, and be open enough to change that process, because if you end up trying to process same things or similar things in the same way, you won't find anything new. So what is changing is not what we had as experiences so far, but the way we view these experiences, the way we open up to view even more and expand gradually until we reach the level of being, of processing with ease and grace and detached from the pain or the extreme happiness, the extremes, finding that balance within ourselves. You will probably have heard me in short videos where I say, embrace your emotions, show full acceptance, and see what happens next. I keep sharing these messages because they do help us massively, even if it feels unimportant at the moment. Okay, yeah, I am accepting my feelings, I am doing this and I am doing that. Do it unapologetically, do it as if nothing else matters at all. Give yourself credit, acknowledge every kind of feeling you may be having, even if it feels toxic, negative, bad, something you want to shake off from your system. Accept everything. That kind of acceptance removes resistance and creates allowance. And this is what an expansion of awareness is, the allowance. We started, if you think of yourself way back in time, knowing nothing of the things you know now, but the allowance, the curiosity of exploring more and trusting that there's more to explore, that started opening you up. Even if you had gifts as a child, the fact that you started opening up to that as if it is something normal, which it is what actually opened you up even more. So we have to remember to keep staying open, keep being in the space of allowance, knowing when boundaries need to be created for ourselves, for the way we process things, to say, no, I'm not gonna go down that road, I have done it in the past, it doesn't work anymore for me, I need something new. And the minute you say that, something else is opening up. and something else presents itself for you. This is what I needed to be sharing about spiritual awakenings and why the heck we are going through so many spiritual awakenings, that each and every spiritual awakening has its own lessons, its own expansion, and it is a beautiful process, although it is very painful at the same time. Painful it is to release the painful feelings. Painful it is to relieve painful experiences. But even that has its own beauty, because you learn more of who you are and you receive more of yourself in ways you never expected. I hope this resonates with you. I hope it brings some clarity. I hope it allows you to get your armor off and fully embrace who you are, through your shadows, through your light, through every aspect of who you are, through the alignment you want to be creating from now on, through everything. Even the uncomfortable moments need to be embraced, because they are the way you create your next steps and celebrate these uncomfortable moments, because the more you celebrate them, the easier the transition that takes place. With much love, this is Elena. As always, be true to yourself and be your true self. And remember, everything is energy.